Greetings, everyone. One of the things that I talked about within the discussion boards is a function or feature called Sparklines, and I want to show you what Sparklines are and how they work. So this is a quick worksheet that I had created, really just to show some profits and losses, and we do that by managing our revenues and expenses, right? So we have revenues here, we have expenses here, and then we have our totals right down here. And there's a couple different ways that we can organize this data in order to make it look a little bit more meaningful. And one of the things that I like to do is right above in this blank line here, and this blank row here, one of the things that we can do is go into the Home tab and then click on what's called Merge and Center. And what that does is it takes all of those individual cells. As you can see here, we have several different cells that are selected, and it merges them into one cell. So I can put revenues here, and let me put an S there as well. And I'm going to give that a cell border. Let's give it a thick outside border, and that will help it distinguish it. So we can do the same thing right here by selecting the range of cells that we want to merge and click on Merge and Center. And we will call this one Expenses. And then we can do the same thing right here. And we'll call this Profit or Loss. And then right down here is our total. And this really doesn't look anything different than here. I mean, we have our different categories. These would be our different SKUs. These are our different months. And then here's our total within those months. So we can actually add a little bit of color to this in order to draw attention to individual things that we want to draw attention to. And one way to do that is to select our cells that we want to highlight here. Let's go with the total row for revenues. And we have our color fill here. And we can select kind of a light green color. Green is typically associated with being good. And then we'll go down to expenses, and we'll say that expenses, maybe we'll give that a little bit of a kind of an orange fill. Red's going to be a little bit too bright here. So we can give it somewhat of an orange fill. And then maybe down here for the overall totals, we can give that a yellow fill. And it kind of draws our attention really quickly to where our totals are and then what our totals are associated with. So we have green being revenues, reddish, orangish being expenses, and then yellows being our profit and loss. So that's one really quick way to help visualize some of that data. And one of the other things that we can do is also format this to be in accounting or a currency format. So we can make it an accounting format just by clicking on the dollar sign here. We'll see that the general that was here switches to accounting, and we automatically have our dollar signs. We have 2 decimal places. We can decrease those decimal places if we want to. We can increase them or decrease them. And we can do that in order to just save a little bit of room. And we can do the same thing here. Let's go to the number command group, and we'll go to currency for this one. And we can see here that the big difference really, as far as we can tell here, is where that dollar sign is placed. I think that the accounting format here presents a cleaner look because it provides all that information within a line. And then if we were to do the same thing here, we're going to see the other difference between what the accounting and the currency formats do. Let's go with the currency format first. And when we do that, we can see here that we have a negative number. So we actually lost money in September, and we have a negative 505. So our currency format is basically just going to put that minus sign in front of it. If we were to go to the accounting format for here, you're going to see that it puts the negative number in parentheses. So that is the other main differentiator between accounting and currency, is how it handles those negative numbers. So again, like I said, I do like the accounting format for this a little bit better because I like the cleaner lines. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to select all of these and auto fit my column width just to shrink that down a little bit. And I can actually widen an individual column by going in between the two column letters on that little white line and then expanding my column that way. And then what I want to do here in this cell here is I want to add what's called a sparkline. And what a sparkline is basically just a very quick chart or a graph that helps you visualize a trend in data. So I can go to the cell that I want to put it in, which is right here, and I want to go to Insert, and there is a Sparklines command group, and we can pick Line. So this is going to ask me where I want to take my data from, and just like we did with the charts, we want to make sure that we are selecting just the inputs and not selecting the total there. So I'm going to select only the values that are contributing to the total and not the total itself. And when I press OK, we can see that we have a trend line here. Now this trend line would look exactly the same within a line graph, but this is just a very quick way of representing the data that is within this, this table. What I can also do is actually increase my row height, and you can see that as I increase and decrease my row height, the trend line becomes a little bit more or less exaggerated depending which direction you're going, and it becomes a little bit more meaningful really if we were to have all of our rows selected at the same height. So I can click on this row, and if I do a right click on it and go down to row height, I can see right now that my row height is set to 26. I think what I'm going to do is click cancel here, and I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to format all of them to a row height of, let's say, 15. Then I can say that maybe I want it a little bit larger, so I can go back here, and let's take a look at what 20 is going to look like. So 20 starts to look a little bit more meaningful. So I'll do these, and I can actually press, I can control this range here, and then I can also select this range here by clicking the control key. And now I have two different ranges selected at the same time, and I can format all these the same way by clicking, by doing a right click, then clicking on row height, and then we want to have that be 20 as well. So what I'm going to do is insert another one, and what I might do this time is actually click on the values that I want to contribute, and I'm going to go into Insert, and I'm going to insert a sparkline. And now this way we can see that our data range is already there. So now I want to click on where I actually want to put the sparkline, which would be here. So there's two different ways to add it. We can select our range first, or we can select our destination first. So we can see here that we have two different sparklines. If I were to increase one row height, obviously we're not comparing apples to apples here because the different row heights are different exaggerations of that trend line. So that is why it's really important to have the same row height so that we're kind of comparing apples to apples. The other way that I can do this is also to use a bar chart, or a bar sparkline rather. And I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go columns rather, actually, sorry about that. So I'm going to click on columns this time, and I'm going to select my range of data here, not including my totals. And we can see here that we have our data arranged in columns instead of a line. So there's two different ways that we can visualize data. The other thing that I want to show you, once again, just like we did with charts and graphs, if I were to insert a sparkline that includes my total, we're going to see that it dramatically changes that sparkline because it is analyzing all of these individual inputs against the total that they're contributing to. So we want to make sure, once again, that we do not include the total. So I can do that here as well. Let me show you one more different type of Sparkline that we can insert, and that is called the win or loss. And I'm going to put my win or loss right here. And this is going to tell you months that you made money or months that you lost money. So right here, we don't have any negative amounts, so this really isn't all that meaningful. If we were to go down to the total here and insert a win or loss, this is where it starts to become a little bit more meaningful, because it is going to show you, let me move that and we'll select our range of data. This is going to show you very quickly months that we lost money. We can see that this individual input is down below the threshold and it's highlighted in red. So we can see very quickly that we lost money in this month. And one of the interesting things that we can really do with the Sparklines, and let me take a look at materials. These numbers are all kind of randomized, but I did add one thing that could add a little bit of value towards what these lines can mean. Let's go to insert. I'm going to insert a Sparkline into our total here. And we can see that we have a relatively flat regression line or a flat trend line here. And then all of a sudden it spikes up. So this is a really quick way to help us draw attention to certain areas that might need to be looked at a little bit more carefully. And as we look across here, we can see that our materials are 800, 450, 550. Oh, wow. In September, all of a sudden, we are shooting up from $800 a month for the materials to $4,600. So something has happened here within our supply chain that is contributing towards this loss for the month. So that's an interesting way to be able to take a look at individual things that might need some attention. It can draw our attention towards really important things. It can also give us different insights as far as trends. Maybe if I were to look at this year after year, maybe this trend line is going to be kind of the same. And somewhere around here for the second half of the year, things are starting to drop off for the year. And maybe I want to look into why things are dropping off for the year. We can see that, all right, we are dealing with t-shirts here, and it's starting to really drop off. Wow, from August to September, there's a significant drop. Maybe that's because people are buying less t-shirts and buying more hoodies. We had a pretty bad hoodie month that month, but oh man, the next month in October, hoodies spiked up big times, and we can see that big spike right here. So that is what Sparklines can actually do for you, is help you visualize your data so that you can find things that are meaningful and you can get really quick glimpses at what your numbers are telling you. I hope that you're able to find some sort of value in that. I know that this does exceed the scope of the course, but it really is an important function that can support a lot of meaningful interpretations as far as all of this information that you're looking for. Because let's be honest, if all of this is just in the endless sea of data, all of these numbers kind of start to merge together, and it's really important to start finding ways to make them more interesting, to make them more meaningful, to help you interpret the information better and make decisions in a more effective manner. And we can do that with Sparklines, with charts and graphs, with conditional formatting, which I've showed you in another video, or with just simple color fills by drawing attention towards this is what this particular line of data is for. So I hope that you were able to get something out of this. As always, please let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help navigate you through this course, but I also want to be able to make sure that I'm giving you some information that could be useful beyond this course as well. Take care, everyone.